gosh, look at the crowd.
Come this way.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Welcome to LMD-TV. I am Ashwini Vethakan. Joining us this week on Talking Business is the Chief Creative Officer for MullenLowe Group Sri Lanka, Dilshara Jayamanne. Welcome to the show, Dilshara. It's good to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Ashwini. Good to be with you today.
Now, Dilshara, given the country's multiple crises, many organizations will be forced to curtail certain expenditure, and it's usually the advertising budgets that are the first to go. What measures will the ad industry take to mitigate the impact of such cuts?
There's always hope. In the deepest despair, there's always hope, cliche, but it's always darkest before it's dawn. We have to believe that, and we do believe that. And we don't blindly believe that. It's not blind faith. See, let's think about it. Sri Lanka as a country seems to be always going through some crisis or the other. A few decades back we had the insurrection, ethnic issues, we had the war, then we had a tsunami, we had the global financial crisis that affected us, we had the Easter bombings, then we had COVID, and now we have the ongoing crisis. So, I mean, it seems to be crisis after crisis after crisis, and we somehow bounce back. We somehow, get back on our feet, and we fight on, and we believe that these are great indicators that there is hope, and we must have that hope, and we as an industry too have that hope, because what we see is that in time of crisis, there is always opportunity, and that opportunity is how you see the problem, and if you see the problem differently, then you may get a different result to what others are experiencing. Now, a difficult time is not the time to try to reap, rather it is the time to try to sow. You must see it, and that's the way our clients see it, and we help our clients see it as a time to invest. It's in tough times that you know who your real friends are, who your real partners are, and it is the same with brands and consumers. It is during difficult times that the brands that engage with people, be there for people, communities, neighborhoods, communities, nations, that really resonate with consumers, and then those consumers choose to be loyal, to remain engaging with those brands in times to come. So it's important to look at these times as times to invest, because if you do the correct investment at these times, then see it as an investment and not as a cost, then we will come out of this well, and we will come out of this strong. But to do this, you said, what can the industry do? What steps must the industry take? The industry is very important that the industry comes together, and the industry needs to take certain actions, like perhaps set minimum floor prices, and also answer tough questions, pose tough questions, and not be afraid to face tough questions. For example, I mean, I have no choice, but I have to divide the business in an essence when I talk about media companies. Now, media companies are, media owners represent a large part of the advertising industry spend, and they raise their fees year on year, and they have no qualms about it, and they have every right to do so. But the ad industry does not do that. We haven't raised our fees in several years. So it's really important, because our costs have gone up. But we have to look at that, we have to face that problem, and we have to address that problem with the business community, bring their attention to it, and face that. So these are steps that our industry can take to face the crisis. It's a change of attitude, and it's a change of certain methodologies.
Let's talk about the digital divide, Dilshara. Do you think Sri Lanka suffers from a digital divide?
Yes and no. Yes, because obviously it does. Our market is as such, and our country is as such that there are still people without access to technology. There's people without access to the internet, access to devices to use the internet and access the information available there. But the good news is that the divide is shrinking year on year. So we've got currently 33 million smartphone connections. 53% of the population uses the internet, and there's I think 500,000 new internet connections coming up every year, and that number is growing with I think 350,000 new social media accounts coming in year on year. And interestingly, almost 99% of social is accessed via mobile. So very interestingly, the democratization of data, the lowering of device prices is making all of this, the devices, the infrastructure available to more and more people. It's not just geographically, but we see people of beyond a certain age to looking to get into technology, looking to get into the internet, get online and use these technologies. Anecdotal, but our grandmothers at home are now on WhatsApp. It's remarkable, and it's amazing how joyful it is to see them use that technology and connect with be it relatives abroad or find out information about what's going on in our country and the world, and use that in very interesting ways, like even as serious as who am I going to vote for next. The information is available, but along with the information being available, misinformation also becomes available, and we know this whole post-truth era thing that's going on, where people tend to believe anything that they see online because they're used to more responsible traditional media. So the people who just cross the digital divide and get online and start getting this misinformation, it's important that they learn how to filter what is from what isn't. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. It's an evolving situation, but yeah. So there is, and it's shrinking, and it's providing lots and lots of very interesting opportunities in my line of work, for brands and for businesses.
And on that note, we'll be going in for a short break.
You love the feeling of being renewed. To stay beautiful every single day. To breathe just like we do, because you are truly delicate, protecting the ones who've been with us through the years. With Sayalac Care, the only wood coating that truly protects you. Sayalac Wood Coatings from JAT.
Welcome back as we continue our conversation with the Chief Creative Officer for MullenLowe Group Sri Lanka, Dilshara Jayamanne. Now Dilshara, and what about ethics? How important is ethics in the context of online advertising?
Great question. It is very, very, very important. See, ethics is important anywhere, online, offline, advertising, regular lives, but online offers a very, very tough challenge for ethics, because you see, the online platforms evolve at such a rapid pace that it's tough to keep in touch with that evolution. And along with the platforms evolving, it's important to understand that attitudes, online attitudes evolve really fast as well. What was in last week may be out this week. What was truth last week may be false this week. And what was appropriate last week may be inappropriate this week. So it's a tough one. But I mentioned the post-truth era before, and online makes this even more poignant, and we see gross irresponsibility online, sometimes intentional, sometimes unintentional. I mean, we see this thing all the time. The big companies like Meta and the social companies are facing multiple questionings, some places in the US Senate, where do their community guidelines actually offer enough of protection? Are they actually filtering properly? Are they vetting the advertising that happens on their platforms? Does their vetting then conform to the standards of the countries or the geographies in which those advertising is available? It's a real question. And in our country, where, for example, we don't have an advertising watchdog, like the UK, for example, has an advertising watchdog, where there is a committee that has written a set of guidelines, and then that watchdog is able to monitor and then take action because of that, because of those guidelines. Our country doesn't have something like that. No ethics committees, no watchdogs. I mean, not to say that turn something into a policed state, that is not the intention, but it's really, really important when you have a very, very powerful platforms that are online, that you use them responsibly. I mean, it goes from big companies to individuals as well. So there's this whole attitude that's evolving, right? So if you were to look at this whole thing of should we pay for the news, earlier we never questioned, because the newspaper didn't come free, we had to go and buy the newspaper, and we never questioned that. But now, when the Times charges subscription and the Guardian doesn't have a paywall, there's that whole question of, should we pay for online news? So it's a really interesting attitude and a debate that's going on about the ethics of even information available online, and good quality information in both cases. It goes down to individuals, like I said too, because you see influencers, for example, and regular people on platforms like TikTok who are using copyrighted music in certain cases which haven't been authorized by the copyright owners for them to be used. So so you'll see really interesting things happen, like we're talking about ethics. So you'll have a particular influencer, for example, put up an Instagram story talking about something that they believe very sincerely is an ethical violation, and in the next story they'll have perhaps a song that they're using to promote a product for which they don't have the rights. Now, it's an interesting conundrum, really. So it's important for users, for brands, for the ad industry, for clients, to understand this situation, understand that it's an evolving situation, and for tech companies to try to address the issue of ethics. I noticed that in Sri Lanka we had the Sri Lanka Personal Data Protection Act that was tabled in Parliament, I think passed in Parliament on the 19th of March. I still haven't read the entire thing, but it's heartening to note that things like this are happening. So attitudes towards ethics online need to change. We need to understand how it works so that we can really exercise responsibility in whatever it is that we do.
The State of Influencer Marketing report for 2022 by Influencer Marketing Hub and Reversion states that the influencer marketing sector is set to grow by approximately $16.4 billion this year. What are your thoughts on the booming creator economy, and what does this mean for the ad industry?
The creator economy is something that we believe in wholeheartedly. It's something that we feel we are really a part of, because we connect with the creators so in a very deep level, because what they do in front of a camera or behind a camera or on a blog or on a vlog or on Instagram is very close to us, because that's something that is at the core of our business, which is creativity. And we believe in this for one very important reason, because we see this as the movement or the moving of the power of the entire conversation from a controlled state to a liberal state. And this is very, very important for brands, nowadays where it's a conversation, where people are talking about it, where people are voicing their opinions, good, bad, whatever, on a platform, and there is discourse. It's really, really important. And the creators and influencers play a wonderful role in bringing this out there to people. Now, while the influencer marketing report shows that the market itself is growing in value, and importantly fraud is also reducing, it's still important to remember that last year 49% of the Instagram influencer accounts were affected by fraud. So it's still a problem, and it's a problem that not every influencer or the companies that they've created for themselves knows how to deal with. So it's very, very important for the tech companies, for the ad companies, for the consultancy companies, for clients to help the creator economy to deal with things like this. Because when fraud happens, you're never really sure what's happening in the case of our industry, what's happening with your brands, who's advertising what, where, your influencer is talking, but where is it happening, where are the followers really from? These are really important questions, and we need to help these creators. We really, really need to get together with them, assist them, and help them understand all the tools and how everything works better. Because see, the more we work with them, the more we help them, their content becomes better. Their fan following demands better content from them. They're doing a real job. It's a tough job. It's not an easy job. They've sacrificed in most cases their private lives, and they have that whole an interesting divide which we were speaking about earlier. When we're talking about ethics, and they've chosen to give a deeply personal part of them to people out there. So we have a real duty to assist them, help them, recognize that they're doing something really important, and also it's something that helps our brands. It's something that helps our line of work. So the more we work with them, the more exciting content we can create, the more rewarding it is to the industries as well as the followers, and you create something beautiful together.
Well, this has been an interesting conversation and has definitely shed some light into the ad industry and the creatives of Sri Lanka. Thank you for joining us on the show this evening, Dilshara.
Thank you so much, Ashwini and LMD. It's been a great pleasure and honor, and thank you for having me.
Coming up, we have the latest updates from the LMD-NielsenIQ Business Confidence Index or BCI report. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show, and here's the latest updates from the LMD-NielsenIQ Business Confidence Index. The BCI registered a notable gain of 8 basis points in March to 132. This outcome represents an 11-month high and sees the index edge towards where it stood before last April's third wave of the virus, following which Sri Lanka imposed lockdowns and travel restrictions. The barometer of biz confidence is 6 notches higher than a year ago, as well as its all-time average of 126 and 22 points above its 12-month average of 110. So for the 4th month in succession, the BCI has headed north despite the perilous state of the economy, the protracted forex crisis, ongoing shortages of essentials, and to cap it all, a power crisis that has left the island in the dark for hours on end. Nielsen's Director of Consumer Insights, Terika Meena explains, with the COVID-19 counts waning and fear surrounding the virus abating, business seems to have started to pick up, and there's hope on the horizon once again. Despite the rise in inflation and shortage of essential goods, businesses are reporting an improvement in sales volumes over the last 3 to 12 months, and they're optimistic about a better tomorrow, she adds. The countless downside risks that hover over the economy and political landscape at this juncture continue to cast a shadow over the BCI's resurgence in recent months, even though the business community seems to be taking a long-term view of what the future holds. Worse still, the increasingly ferocious headwinds in the northern hemisphere from the direction of war-ravaged Ukraine make for a doom and gloom scenario for the rest of the world. So the most obvious near-term sensitivities at the time of going to press include the price of oil, the value of the Sri Lankan rupee, ongoing power and forex crisis, and the prospect of political upheaval. In the last two editions of LMD, we asserted that the business community may well be taking a longer-term view, but it has been said that until there's a revival of Sri Lanka's economy and an easing of the restrictions that the forex crisis has necessitated, this level of confidence will be hard to maintain. We're inclined to say the same once again. Meena Denia, meanwhile, also believes that with the Sri Lankan rupee being floated, brutal power cuts, rampant shortages of diesel and other necessities hindering businesses, it will be very difficult for the index to continue to improve drastically. And that's all the time we have for this week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.